You're listening to TLN Radio, a member of the Nation Network of Podcasts and delivered by DoorDash.
What's up, everyone? Episode 20 of the Leafs Nation Radio podcast. Scott, Nick, Michael, Caroline here with you. The crew is back. And guys, what's going on? Scott, we'll start with you.
Not a whole lot. Got my booster shot on Saturday and it hit me like a truck. So was recovering for most of Sunday and I'm much better now.
Oh no, like how'd you feel?
Like my arm was sore, but like I'm used to that with these by now. But like I felt sick. I don't know if I actually was, but like, just had a lot of soup and Gatorade and ginger ale trucked for that day. And it was a very nice sleep that first night though. Like I slept for like 8 hours straight, did not wake up at all, which is the first time that has happened in a long time.
Well, I'm sorry you got so sick. My goodness, it's never good to hear, but I'm glad you bounced back.
I was kind of worried that it might have been COVID because where I got it, they didn't exactly have it all set up well, and they would sit the people who were waiting to get their booster shots with people who were also getting tested for COVID. So that's probably not the best place to put like two different groups of people, but yeah, it seems to have passed.
Oh man, Nick, you're Scott, sorry, I didn't mean to just go off that. Scott, I'm glad you're feeling better and hopefully the worst is over, hey?
Yeah.
All right, Nick, your turn. You're reporting on some big news.
Yeah, it looks like Josh Ho-Sang is headed to the Olympics.
Yay!
I don't know. I mean, it's definitely legit just because I tweeted it and his agent just liked it. So it seems like after he had, I don't know if you guys know a lot of his backstory around Hockey Canada, but he had a lot of, when he was younger, just a lot of like back and forth with them in a sense. I don't really know how to say it otherwise, but just there was points where he wasn't selected when he should have been selected to be on the World Juniors and that sort. So to see him get this opportunity to represent the world for Team Canada is pretty cool.
I think it was last week we were talking about how, or maybe a couple weeks ago, we were talking about how we would love to see Josh Ho-Sang on that roster. And of course, the way like his career started out, he had some difficulties, but he's on the right path and we would love to see him on that roster. So it's so exciting. And yeah, big news today. And it was like right before we started recording our podcast. So cool stuff.
Yeah, it was interesting. It'll be exciting to watch him there, except for the fact that I'm just remembering that games are going to be in like 4 a.m. in the morning. So maybe not.
Start adjusting your sleep schedule, Nick. Have fun.
It's not happening.
Michael, what's up with you?
Feeling good. I now have a proper laptop after the last few weeks of having to deal with a Chromebook. So I'm feeling really good about finally able to show my face on the podcast. So it's all good.
There you go. Awesome stuff. I'm good here in Edmonton. The Oilers snapped their 7-game losing streak. So, there's some light at the end of the tunnel here in Edmonton and makes our jobs a lot easier. So that's how I'm doing. But yeah, let's get into the podcast episode here. Obviously, last week, we know that the boys lost to the Rangers 6-3, then beat the Islanders 3-1. Scott, I was reading one of your articles and I died laughing. You're like our modern day Leafs Nation's Shakespeare. And I want to read this, like the little intro to your article. You're like, for the fifth time on this 6-game road trip, the Leafs took a 3-1 lead. For the first time on this 6-game road trip, the Leafs did not blow that 3-1 lead. And I was like, I love it. It's poetic. Scott, like, what are your thoughts on that game? And maybe we can all weigh in on why the Islanders are still salty about the John Tavares trade.
Well, like, first of all, I'm not really surprised by the results of the game. Those who read my preview going into the game would know that I didn't really think too much of this particular Islanders team. They've been like really good defensive teams in the past. A lot of it due to the wonderful systems of Barry Trotz, but it just hasn't really come to form this year, mostly because I think they've had a lot of bad luck go their way this season. They had a month and a half long road trip to start the season or something like that while their arena was finished building. They've had a lot of injuries, particularly to their top defenseman, Ryan Pulock. COVID outbreak before other teams were having it. So like at that point, the NHL was still just like deal with it. So like they've been better now that a lot of that has kind of subsided, but even then, like they still aren't shutting teams down like they did in like these past couple seasons when we've seen them go to the conference finals. And they can't score still. Like that's the very minimal offense. So if there was a game to put Peter Mrazek in, is like, here should be like a nice easy one for you, it's this. Because like I think back to a couple years ago when they wanted to give Freddie a night off, and so they're like, hey, we're just going to start Michael Hutchinson against the Islanders on Saturday night because that'll be an easy matchup for him. And then he got a shutout. So yeah, I don't like, this really wasn't too much of a shock. Obviously anything can happen in a game of hockey, but it's not much to add after that. And I guess as far as like saltiness we can have that conversation later.
Yeah, no, I still am shocked that it's been 4 years. And with the way everything turned out with JT, Islanders fans just got to let it go. Like at some point you got to move on with your life. And if a player decides to leave, or, if there's a situation where someone gets traded or they're just unhappy, it sucks for like that moment, maybe that year. But after that, move on.
And the other thing too is that the Islanders have had a lot of success over the last few years, like way better than the Leafs have ever had. Like, what was it, 2 appearances in the conference finals, and a really well-built machine, like with the coaching style of Barry Trotz. And even though Lou Lamoriello has had some questionable moves over the years, it's still the right amount of pieces that could put the team in success compared to John Tavares and the Leafs. So I don't really understand why Islanders fans are still this upset over John Tavares after all this time. Even when he was honoring Clark Gillies this past weekend, because he unfortunately passed away, they're still Islanders fans. They were still extremely salty. Like John Tavares, loved his time with the Islanders. He didn't leave because he didn't like the Islanders. He left because he wanted to come home.
And that's like bottom line. He's from here. He has his family here. And like, you know what, even if a player is unhappy in the situation that they're in, like they have the right to want to leave and not deserve to get maybe booed 4 years later. But, that's neither here or there. I'm not one of those fans who's salty. If I have a favorite player on a team and I've supported this club or this team for my entire life, I'm not going to all of a sudden hate the player because they want to leave or they're unhappy. Like there's so many things that happen behind the scenes that may contribute to that I'm just like, whatever, I wish them luck, and you move on.
I like to look at the Islanders building, and there's a few buildings in the NHL. The Islanders are one. I think Minnesota's another that are a lot louder than every other building in the NHL. Like when you compare it to Scotiabank Arena, for example, it's not even close. And a few people that I've talked to have sort of related the appearance of John Tavares and them booing to soccer fans a lot in Europe, where they're loud and they really don't care. And like, I at some points I agree, like, they can boo whenever they want. They pay their ticket. But at the same time, like, you just think of it and it's just like, it's 4 years ago almost. And they're still, I don't know whether it's upset, sad. They obviously still have their heart with him, because if they didn't, then they wouldn't be booing him. They would have just left it alone. So I don't understand it. I think it's crazy. I think it's wild, and it's almost 4 years. It's like, you think about, like, if someone was in a relationship and the relationship ended, if you go 4 years and you're still thinking about that person, that's kind of unhealthy. So
it's super toxic. And it's so funny that people are bringing up soccer fans, because soccer fans are very emotional, passionate people. And I'm like the first one, when I would go to a Toronto FC game and an opponent would foul a member of the Toronto FC team, I'd be upset, right? Like, of course, like I'd be like, it's a foul, penalty. But if I know that a player left and is now on another club, I would never think to boo him, ever. I'm like, this guy's a human being. This is sports. This is the way it goes. Like, I'm not going to hate the person. So it's just very interesting to think exactly that even after 4 years, the Islanders are so bitter. It's like a very toxic situation. And I feel like for the health of themselves, they need to let it go because time heals all wounds, but clearly not for the New York Islanders.
And just the fact that it's almost 4 years ago is also crazy to me. It does not feel like 4 years ago.
I know. I just
Time
wonder,
is
like,
not a thing.
what do you guys think JT thinks? Like, he's such a funny interview, right? Because he's always so poised and direct, and he's very well media trained. So I'm always wondering, like, what goes through his mind? Does he think it's funny? Is he, does he get annoyed? Is he like, it's been 4 years? I'm so curious. I wish I could talk to him and be like, open up about it, which, he never would. But it'd be so curious to be like, yeah, like, get over it. He has to feel that way.
I'm sure that's the kind of thing you'd ask him after his career is over, because he's probably so fixated in the moment, and maybe afterwards he'll be like, oh yeah, no, this is very annoying, or like, oh, I loved it.
I bet John Tavares.
He actually just gets super depressed. Goes through an intense depression.
I would hate for that to happen, but I just feel like he's so professional that he'd be like, yeah, it's the way it goes. And I understand the fans and these things happen. That he'd be very professional about it, where I would be like, professional, but it's time. It's time. I love you, Islanders, but I'm home and move on. So funny. Okay, Scott, you brought up Peter Mrazek, and we talked about him on the last episode, how obviously he needs to be given a chance between the pipes for this Leafs team so the organization can, and even fans can, like, properly assess how we feel about him, as a goaltender on this Leafs team. First couple of months obviously weren't the greatest for him. Injury, COVID-19, pause, break in schedule. The guy didn't get to see a lot of ice time. He got that chance against the Islanders and 27 saves on the night. And a solid performance from the guy. Maybe he wasn't tested as much as he would have been against another team, but he had his time in between the pipes, which is huge. He got that exposure. He got that in-game performance that he really needed, and maybe some faith from the Leafs organization and fans that this is a guy we could rely on. So thoughts on his performance at this moment in time?
So, yeah, like, you're not going to have, like, the best scoring chances. The Islanders aren't going to have the best scoring chances. So it was a pretty easy night, but it's still, like, probably a good thing for him too. It's a way to ease him into starting to play better and better with the Leafs. And I think it's just important that we keep finding these games for him. Honestly, I think it might be smart to just, like, go back and forth between the two goalies at this point, especially because Campbell has started to, like, fall back a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because, like, his first 15 games this season, he had the 944 save percentage. It was absolutely insane. Then the last 14, it's just been a 912, which isn't bad, but, like, it's not great either. Well, actually, that's pretty a bit, like, average, but still, like, you can tell he's starting to get tired. So it's probably a good idea to start getting Mrazek in there to get some reps in as well.
I totally agree with you there. I think the best opportunity for Mrazek to get his next start would be Saturday's game against, I believe, is it the Red Wings? Is it the Red Wings? I want to say the Red Wings. But yeah, that's exactly it. It's a perfect opportunity because Mrazek is finally healthy. The only way you can really see what you have in him is if you give him more starts. And the whole envision of this goaltending tandem was to kind of split back and forth between Campbell and Mrazek, two quality goalies, like, capable of handling starter minutes. So to add on to Scott's points, this is a perfect opportunity. Like, if you don't see what you have in him now, you're never going to see what you have in him. And as long as he stays healthy and continues to get his confidence building, like this from this win against the Islanders, that's a great step in the right direction. And hopefully you can maintain that, because it would obviously help ease Campbell's workload just a little bit, because as we've said, he's been struggling a little bit, but at the same time, it's good to just have that healthy competition, because that's what makes the team better.
I think when you look at it too, it's good to get his confidence up by putting him against maybe teams that aren't as maybe good as the Tampa Bay Lightnings, the Florida Panthers,
the Edmonton Oilers. I'm kidding.
Just to get his confidence up. I mean, in that game, like, you saw the Peter Mrazek that we thought might be able to come to Toronto. And that's a really good thing. And I mean, hopefully he keeps everything up, and hopefully he does everything, because he was making some big saves in that game against the Islanders. And some of the saves were very surprising. And some of the saves were like, oh no, his groin, it's damaged again. But no, he was okay. So as long as he can stay healthy, as long as he can gain his confidence back, I think he'll be a good goaltender for the Leafs, and one that will be able to be alongside Jack Campbell and play games.
Yeah, I think it's huge to have for Jack Campbell to know that he has the ability to rest when he needs it, because all goaltenders do. And I love what you brought up, Michael, about healthy competition, because that's always needed in a team, right? Like you always need that. So, it's going to benefit Jack Campbell, maybe bring him to another level. Same thing with Peter Mrazek, and confidence is huge. And the only way to get game confidence is actually playing in games. We all know that the game is very different than a practice. So Peter Mrazek needs to be exposed to those in-game situations where he's making big saves and he gets his confidence going. And as we all know, in playoffs, and hopefully we this year get to the second round, depth in goaltending is huge. We need to know that we have a solid goaltender, and obviously Jack Campbell, and then Peter Mrazek when needed. So I don't know, it's good. I'm very happy to have heard that Peter Mrazek did a very, very good job in net for the Islanders. I wasn't able to watch, or against the Islanders, I wasn't able to watch that game, but I was happy to hear that, especially since everything we talked about last week, that he needs that chance. He needs that opportunity. And the first couple of months of his career here in Toronto, not the best, but completely out of his control. So hopefully he gets going here now.
Best case scenario for the Leafs in terms of this goalie tandem is to look no further than what the Pittsburgh Penguins did during their two runs of dominance in 15, 16, 16, 17, when they had Marc-Andre Fleury still in his prime, and then the best 2 years of Matt Murray as an NHL goaltender. So it definitely helps when you have two goalies playing exceptionally well, battling off each other. And if one starts to struggle a little bit, you can easily go to the other one and pick up the slack from there. Like that's what the Leafs are probably hoping for, and that's obviously what Leafs fans can hope for if Mrazek can stay healthy and continue his strong play and build off of what he did on Saturday night.
Absolutely.
It's been so long since we've had a 1A, 1B situation with the Leafs. Because we had Freddie, and we always just had the backup, which pretty much only ever played on back-to-back nights. And then right when he finished, Campbell took over, and they've basically been doing the same thing with him so far. So we really haven't had it since Reimer and Bernier back in the years when we were bad. So hopefully this, and that was actually one of the few bright spots in the team usually. So hopefully we can get something like that again.
Yeah, it'd be huge. Okay. Best player for you guys this past week on the Toronto Maple Leafs. I can start it off. I was so happy to see that Mitch Marner ended his power play goal drought, obviously against the Rangers. Big moment for him. I feel like everyone knew that was a big monkey on his back that he desperately wanted to get off. I'm happy he finally did it. 2 goals, 1 assist last week. And then it's big. He's had a couple big performances, obviously coming off of his injury and then the COVID-19 protocol list. So I'm happy for Mitch Marner. I think that this regular season has been different for him. There's been a lot of adversity, but I also think that maybe that's going to be encouraging going into the playoffs, because maybe he'll hit stride into the playoffs. And obviously that's his biggest critique, is that Mitch Marner's kind of invisible in the playoffs. So I'm hoping that maybe this regular season, since it's not, your typical Mitch Marner regular season, he starts doing his thing in the playoffs, hopefully, obviously expecting the Leafs to make it and have a solid run. So happy for Mitch this past week, because it's a big monkey off of his back, and one that fans, I'm sure, were happy to see him score.
I'm going to go with, sorry, Michael, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I have an idea in my head, but I think you've got this one. So take it from here.
I was gonna say Morgan Riley. Just he's having an incredible season. I mean, 33 points in 38 games. I think it was Mitch Marner that said after, I don't know whether it was the Islanders game, but he said that it's insanity that Morgan Riley's never been an All-Star. So the NHL, first of all, needs to fix their all-star picking, because we don't need a player from every team. We need the best players in the league there. And secondly, he needs to be an all-star, and he needs to get that chance because he's one of the best defensemen in the league, and it's so unfair that he's not getting put on that high stage.
They really need to stop half-assing the whole all-star. It's like, I get it if you just want to have it all superstars, and I get it if you want to have it where it's a game where it's a bunch of players who have never had that opportunity to be there before, but they just keep trying to like go in the middle, and it just creates a bit of a mess. Like it feels so out of place watching. I don't even know, or I guess Nick Suzuki this year is kind of a prominent one where it's like, what are you doing here? When he'll be playing alongside like Austin Matthews. When like it's one thing if you want to take the opportunity to like, you know, you have a Nick Suzuki, and like maybe for the Leafs it's William Nylander instead because he hasn't been there, and like maybe the Penguins, or did Evan Rodriguez make it for the Penguins? I can't remember. Is that
I don't.
Yeah. Well, like still, like he's having a really good year. Like, why not give him a chance on that in the game as well? So like, it's cool if you want to do that, but if you aren't, then just go with the best players. Random tangent there.
Yeah, absolutely.
One was Jake Gensel. I don't know if there's anybody else.
Okay. That's still good.
Yeah.
I don't think he's had any all-star games.
No. But like they should have at least something along the lines of like they have their set players whoever picks, like the stars, and then they have guys who could be brought in via the fans. And I know they have the last man in thing, but they need to find a better way of doing it where they can have those cool stories, but as well bringing the superstars of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I will say for my pick of the best player of the week, have to go to Pierre Engvall. He's been playing much better defensive hockey than we've seen over the past few weeks. It's been definitely a long time coming because a lot of Leaf fans, and I think especially Sheldon Keefe, has been really hard on Pierre Engvall, and like just because he has this immense talent, immense potential. And we finally saw glimpses of that this week, especially during the game on Saturday where he scored a beautiful goal with like seconds to spare that proved to be the game winner. So it's been nice to see Pierre Engvall just like getting his confidence going, like slowly but surely finding his rhythm. And it really just goes to show like when you have more confidence in your game, it just helps the team overall. And just like we said in the past with Ilya Mikheyev, it's good to see Pierre Engvall just getting more confident because it goes a long way with improving the depth.
I'm gonna cheat slightly and pick two players, but it's only because they're one cohesive unit. I'm gonna go with Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren. They weren't the prettiest all the time this past week, but I think considering the circumstances of them getting thrusted into a top four role, the fact that they still performed pretty well overall. They had really strong possession numbers in both those games, and aside from a couple mistakes where they got burned, particularly in the Rangers game, it was a pretty they showed that they can perform in those in the future. Like I think there's still some work that needs to be done, but it's not like a lost cause immediately.
I love that you guys bring up a couple of those players because that heads into what I'd love to talk about next. And, you know, Michael, you bring up Pierre Engvall. Nick, you wrote a great article, obviously, on theleafsnation.com saying that he's having a season like he's never had before. Michael just alluded to that as well. 5 goals, 9 assists so far in the season. And Keefe, after the Islanders game, said he really liked his game lately. Obviously talking about Pierre Engvall, just the way he's using his speed, hanging on to the puck, getting us out of our zone and through the neutral zone. Please talk to us, you know, boys, about, and, you know, Nick specifically, if you'd like to, because you wrote the article, what is it about Pierre Engvall in his game right now that has really taken him to the next level? And where Sheldon Keefe, where he's been hard on him on the past, is now giving him such praise to the media.
I think one of the things is that he's just comfortable where he is. He's a lot of this season, he's sort of bounced around between the third and fourth line, but both of those lines, he sort of found his place. And maybe it's because of the acquisition of David Camp and Andre Kasha, where they're both so defensively minded that he works with them as well a little bit. But just in the way he's been playing and how comfortable he is, it's allowed him to just be himself and be the player that he was with the Marlies that a lot of people thought he would be in the NHL. The way he brings up the puck up the ice is good. His speed he's so deceptive, and the way he skates, like there's times where it looks like he might be going so slow, and then he's just able to turn it on and go. So I mean, the amount of comfortableness he has right now translates into the game and how he's playing, and it's just giving him a lot of success. And then in terms of Keefe, it's just like a lot of what I saw from Keefe was just how he would give him sort of tough love. Sort of like, hey, like you're doing the wrong things, but I really like you, so I'm going to give it worse to you than other people, if that makes sense. It looks like the tough love has sort of transformed him into the player where he's comfortable now.
We talked about it last week. It was one of my favorite parts of the All or Nothing documentary is watching Sheldon Keefe give players tough love, because again, that's his job as a coach. That's why there are coaches on professional teams to do that, to bring the best out of each player in each environment and position that they're in. So I'm not opposed to tough love. And if it's a player who can take it and understand that it is constructive criticism, they'll only excel. So that's what we're seeing here with Pierre Engvall.
Yeah, I think, well, like going into the season, he was in a very fragile position with the Leafs. We weren't even sure if he was going to make the lineup. So the fact that he's basically solidified his spot now speaks a lot to how good of a year he's having. Even like if the offense hasn't entirely been there all the time, which I think he has that like finishing ability. We just don't get to see it as much as we could. But like he's also just been a really good play driver this year. And a lot of the times the lines he's been on will usually struggle without him. Like I wrote an article earlier this month about who was really driving the third line's results for the shutdown unit. And David Kampf actually kind of doesn't do as great away from Pierre Engvall when he's off of that line. And even just, I pulled up the numbers right now, but the Pierre Engvall, Jason Spezza, Wayne Simmons line, when they're a fourth line, has some of the best results possession-wise and like expected goals-wise in the league. Among like any line. And yet when you take them away from, or when you take Engvall away from them, they're Spezza and Simmons are like barely at 50%. So it shows how much help he is on a line in a defensive stance. So I think that's really part of how we've seen him grow a lot more as a player this season.
It's been awesome to see him get the confidence, like I said, because Pierre Engvall, when he's on his game, makes the Leafs much better and a tougher team to play against, especially on the penalty kill. As I'm sure everybody knows by now, his first NHL goal came from a shorthanded breakaway, and his speed and size definitely makes him a legitimate threat on offense. And I think that is something that the Leafs need to always find a way to get some use out of him. And it's like I said, there's a reason why Sheldon Keefe has always been so hard on him, because they think he has potential to make a serious impact on the game. Even if it's only in the bottom six, like that is still immense value. So I'm actually curious to see how he does with Kampf and Nylander, because if I'm not mistaken, they did release some new lines today, and they're very interesting to say the least. So
tell us.
I don't remember them off the top of my head. We'll have to look it up here. But from what I remember, it's like Kampf, Engvall, and Nylander. So
there's Kerfoot with Kampf and Nylander on the third line.
Oops, my bad.
Engvall's on the fourth with Spezza and Simmons.
Spoke too soon.
No worries. It happened.
But yes, Engvall is still going to do great regardless of where he's lined up, and it's been great to see him having success no matter where he's in the lineup. I hope he can continue this, because it'll make the Leafs a better team in the playoffs.
Awesome. And, Michael, while you're on the hot seat, you wrote a great piece on Timothy Liljegren, and maybe talk to us about the critique that he's been given so far, and then why you think he's going to be just fine, because it's literally the heading of your article. He's going to be just fine, not to worry. So, give us the 101 on what you wrote about.
Well, Timothy Liljegren, along with Rasmus Sandin, were kind of put in a tricky situation with Jake Muzzin and Justin Hall missing some time with injuries. And Sheldon Keefe gave them a unique opportunity to get some top 4 minutes these last couple of days. And to say it's been a rough adjustment would be underselling it completely, because every time the Leafs would get scored against and Timothy Liljegren or Rasmus Sandin were on the ice, I just see on Twitter everyone getting really mad and like blaming Liljegren. Why is Liljegren here? This and that. Like they should trade him or something like that. But the underlying metrics seem to point him in a positive light. Like he's made the team a better in terms of possession. They generate more scoring chances. Their expected goals are higher when Liljegren's on the ice. He's just kind of been unlucky because of some like rookie mistakes and of course like situations that he's been put in. What people need to remember is that Liljegren is only 22 years old. He'll be 23, I believe, in April of this year. He's only played 36 career NHL games to this point. That's roughly, and this year he has approximately 64% of them. So he is still a very raw prospect. And to get top 4 minutes this early on in his career, it's huge. And there has been adjustments, there has been mistakes. Let's not kid ourselves. But he's gotten slowly better as time has gone on. And during the last game against the Islanders, I think he started to grow more and more confident in his game. He was making better decisions. Like he's starting to figure things out. It's not going to be right away, but it's a step in the right direction. Now, will he be getting top 4 minutes like for the rest of the season? Probably not. It'll probably just be if there's injuries. But now that he's back in his normal role on the third pair, he does so a better player, a more confident player, one more sure in his abilities, and one that could one day take that permanent leap into the top 4.
Awesome. So considering the trends and the stats that you're looking at, Michael, it's safe to say that with the minutes that he's getting and the experience that he's getting, he's only going to hopefully at least stay at the level he's at or get better.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all fans need to remember is that Timothy Liljegren is still young. He's still learning his ropes in the NHL. And they need to probably simmer down on the slander of him because the Leafs are a better team with him than without him.
I love it. That's awesome. Go ahead.
To put into perspective about what Mike was saying about like how much better the Leafs possession numbers have been when he's on the ice. This is something I see a lot when I'm making my preview articles every game. But like there are currently 414 NHL pairings in the league that have played like 30 minutes together on the blue line, and him and Sandin rank 41st in Corsi for percentage and 20th in expected goals for percentage. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that they've mostly been a third pairing, so that's some pretty easy competition. But just like it kind of goes to show that like they have been like how well he's been doing this rookie season, and I don't think we talk enough about it. And he definitely gets a little bit too much flack for how good he has been overall.
Love it. Anything else we want to talk about before we wrap up episode 20 of the Leafs Nation Radio podcast?
I got nothing.
Yeah, Nick's busy
other than
with that accidental release of the Team Canada roster. Nick's got things to do.
No, I'm not. I've held off. I'm waiting until tomorrow.
Oh, you're okay. All right.
John already posted it on the website, so if you want to read about Josh Hosang, go to leafsnation.com.
Yay! Maybe you'll get to talk. How cool! You think you'll be able to talk to Josh Hosang before and get? So you got a good relationship with him.
I'm gonna see. The Marlies play tonight, and then they don't have another game until the 28th, I believe. So, and it's in their next game's in Belleville. So they're obviously going to come home. I'd say tomorrow will probably be like an off day, or they might consider it a travel day. And then there might be an off day on Wednesday. I don't know how that would work, but I'm hoping Wednesday will be the day where they have practice again, and hopefully I'll be able to talk to him.
Yay. Okay. I'm looking forward to that because obviously you guys have a good rapport and he'll open up to you about all that. So that's really exciting. I'm excited for him.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see what he has to say.
Yeah.
Especially playing for his home country.
The biggest honor as an athlete, I'm sure.
He's really excited to play with Leaf legend Daniel Winnick.
So, Scott, sorry, you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to joke that while you've talked to Olympians before, Nick, this will be the first time you've actually gotten to speak to them while they're going to the Olympics.
I mean, Christian Rubens did count before the NHL didn't go.
Wow.
Because he was named onto the the first three players, which is actually crazy to believe that he's that good in Latvia. But yeah, I don't know. It's still nothing, like even just interviewing people like we did out of the Hockey Hall of Fame and stuff like that. I don't know if it's hit me or if it's ever going to hit me that I'm talking to people like that, but it's very weird and crazy.
Yeah. It's really weird. Like you don't think about it while it's happening. It's just like it's just not something your mind processes because you're like, I have to get them to answer these questions and not look like an idiot while doing it.
No, you guys are the furthest thing from idiots. You deserve the moment. You deserve to be in that situation. You worked hard to get to where you are. You guys are knowledgeable and personable. You guys deserve to be there in that moment. It's very cool that you guys got to do that, but obviously you guys know how you feel, well deserved. So anyways, let's end with our song of the week. Who wants to go first?
Nick, why don't you start?
Okay. I mean, let me find what it's called. But if you guys watch TikToks, this is obviously no.
No.
It's either in my For You page or just it's just there because a lot of people like it. But Lost by Frank Ocean seems to be coming back around, and ever since I've watched TikToks that have it in it, it gets stuck in my head over and over again. So the past week, I've probably played it 100 times over and over because it's just a great song. So Lost by Frank Ocean is mine.
I love Frank Ocean.
I'll go with another TikTok song. Well, one that originated from TikTok, but now finally got released a few days ago. It has to be Charlie Puth's new single, Light Switch. I've been addicted to it ever since I first saw the original TikTok. And now that it's finally out, I've been playing it like maybe 100 times. I've been really looking forward to the song. It was definitely worth the wait. Definitely listen to it if you haven't already.
I haven't had any songs yet this year that like I've just discovered that have really popped out to me. So it's still been a lot of just like listening to what I know. So as I've said before, the 1975 are one of my favorite bands. So I'm going to go with another song of theirs. Love It If We Made It. It's just got this really nice driving energy to it up as it like kind of builds up throughout the song, and like the chorus, it just like is super explosive. So yeah, I think that's going to be my pick for this week. Also kind of fitting for the Leafs, you know, it'd be nice if they finally made it to the second round for once in our lives.
Right. Okay. So since we're on the theme of TikTok trending sounds, I'm going to give one too. That's very specific to the Islanders situation with John Tavares. So it's going to be Taylor Swift, and it's going to be the Enchanted song because that's the trending viral lyric that was like, please don't be in love with someone else. Please don't have somebody waiting on you. So I feel like that's perfect for the Islanders in relation to their John Tavares obsession and obviously the Leafs. So let's add some T Swift into the playlist. Every song she has is just a masterpiece. She's a wizard when it comes to writing music.
That one might actually be my favorite of hers.
I love her. I think that like not every one of her songs is one that I'm like, something that I would listen to, but I just think that every time you listen to her lyrics, she's just so talented. It's just insane how she comes up with the lyrics that she does.
I mean, she is very fitting to talk about the Islanders with, because the Islanders very much copy her energy and not being able to get over a guy.
Well, now she's happy and in a relationship. So maybe the Islanders will get there, right? Maybe the Islanders will finally get there and move on and be in a long.
How long has her career been?
I know. Could you imagine? You imagine there's like a timeline with like Taylor Swift's dating life and like her lyrics, and then like that correlates with the timeline of the Islanders with John Tavares. That's like a whole other level of conspiracy and you know that someone out there would probably do that. Figure out if there's any correlation between the two.
I wonder if the Islanders will ever like retire Tavares' number. Like, do you think that's like been thrown out the window at this point? Or do you think they still give him credit for the time he was there and how good he was?
Didn't they make a news segment they did a whole news segment on him when he came back the first time, and wasn't that the whole "we don't need you" thing?
Yeah, but like, does the organization feel that way? I know the fans don't want it, but
imagine that.
I guess it could.
Imagine the organization decides that we need to retire his number, and they have a whole ceremony, and the fans disagree.
I think that'd be poetic justice.
I guess it might just end up kind of like that. I guess it might just end up like the Sergei Fedorov situation in Detroit. Maybe it's something like, although they haven't even retired his number yet, but like maybe it'll be in like 20 years.
Yeah, the Islanders have some healing to do. They definitely have some healing to do.
They need couples therapy.
Yeah.
They do need him.
Oh my God, this could be such a funny segment. Like there's longevity. It's like, I feel like it's evergreen content because it's been going on for 4 years. So what's to say they won't go on for another 4 years? So crazy, but yeah, that's their own problem. All right, everyone.
They're just mad that they won't be able to pull in a.
They want, what?
I said they're just mad that they're never going to be able to pull in a big name free agent like we did with John Tavares. They're a poverty franchise, so that's what happens.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll end on that, everyone. This has been episode 20 of the Leaf Station Radio podcast. Of course, we've got Scott, Nick, Michael, Caroline here with you. It's always fun to do this with you guys every single Monday, and you guys know the drill. Tune back in and catch up with us. Bye.
Thanks for listening to TLN Radio, a member of the Nation Network of Podcasts and delivered by DoorDash. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode.